And all right. Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is 6:58 p.m. on Monday evening, August 11th, and we are just 2 minutes away from well, at least my first ever live webinar discussing technology. And our specific topic today is going to be Google Mail in the Hart District. In our transition from GroupWise to Google Mail. I guess I should save the formal introduction because I'm going to do this again in 2 minutes. So for those of you joining us, we're going to be we'll be starting officially in just a couple of minutes. So I think the best way to do this, and I do have Susanna here. Susanna, what is your official title at the Hart District?
I am the Supervisor of Technology Services.
Yes. Okay,
Hello,
good.
everyone.
Hello. Hey. So I did get your title correct when I put it out on the email, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Good.
Thank you.
All right. Well, good. Hey. So we're now a minute away from formally beginning. A quick tip for you, for those of you just joining us early. We have a couple of screens that you'll want to have open. First is the YouTube video, where hopefully you are watching us and hearing us, because you should be experiencing both audio and video. And then another thing you may want to have open, and you can either have this open in a separate browser window, or you can have it open on your tablet or on another computer or on your phone, your smartphone, would be the what we call the back channel. The back channel we're conducting on today's meet. And so let me hold up. This is the website, and you should also see this. There's the link that you can click on. If you saw the intro page, this is the link you want to click on. Very important. You can either just click on the link, or you can type in todaysmeet.com/gmailheart. And again, it's important that you get it all lowercase. It is case sensitive. So todaysmeet.com/gmailheart. And of course, that link is included in the little promo document that I sent out to all of the school sites, and I think Susanna sent it out to all the users at the Administrative Center. And so I think, thank you, Susanna, for that. And so I see that our time is officially now 7 p.m., and so just want to welcome everyone to, once again, the very first ever webinar that I've done. Susanna, the first webinar for you as well?
It is. Very exciting.
Right on. Well, the whole reason for this, I'll just explain briefly, is I've been in trainings now. Did an induction training a week and a half ago, and SEDI training last week, and I was just running into friends who were asking me questions about Gmail and about other Google products as we make the transition into Google Apps for Education. We are now a year into being a Google Apps for Education district, and I think especially since we did away with GroupWise, a lot of staff members either having little questions or sometimes big questions about the changes, the differences between GroupWise and Gmail. And so I think that's what we're here today to do. And I think we're going to start with some of the basics and do a demo of the basics, and then we'll, as our hour progresses, we'll move into some more advanced topics, including some of the Gmail labs, the things that the engineers at Google are experimenting with and could disappear at any moment. So if you get attached to a lab, don't get too attached to it. Some of these features could just be gone in the blink of an eye. So, but we'll go from the basic functions all the way through advanced, and hopefully have a good time in the process. So, Susanna, I think what I'm going to do. Oh, and by the way, I should also mention that on the back channel, if you go to todaysmeet.com/gmailheart, and that link is listed for you on that document, you'll be able to ask questions. You can type in questions. Susanna is going to be answering those questions on the back channel, and so please feel free. No question is too big or too small, and if Susanna can't answer it, then she will. And if it's something that requires a demo, kind of a live on-screen demo, then we'll go ahead and we'll
And save those for the end.
we will save those for the end, yes. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get on here and do a screen share. And I'm going to share this screen right here. And so I think you should now see this screen right here. Again, this is the kind of the launch screen where we started out or where you started out. And again, that link, if you click on that link right here, you can join the back channel. I'm going to go ahead and just open up Gmail. Now, Susanna and I were having a conversation yesterday about the difference between calling it Gmail versus calling it Google Mail, and I'm probably going to bounce back and forth interchangeably. But part of the reason why I wanted to emphasize, and Susanna was good with reminding me about this, is there were some staff members who thought, oh, okay, so we're transitioning to Gmail, so I must go to gmail.com, or I'm going to have a Gmail, my address is going to be gmail.com, and of course that's not the case. The nice thing about Google Apps for Education is we get to keep our domain, so all of our email addresses remain at hartdistrict.org. So it's the best of both worlds. We get to keep the professional educational domain of hartdistrict.org, but we get all the amazing features of Gmail. So here's the opening window that you would see, the opening screen when you first start out in Gmail. I've tried to clean up my inbox a little bit, so I only have 4 messages, which is a good thing. If you want to have a little bit of fun, you can email me, rippolito@hartdistrict.org, and you can see some new emails pop up, and we'll have some fun sorting through those and putting labels on them and dropping them into folders, and I'll explain folders in just a little bit. So if you'd like, email me, and then we'll have some fun with your email. That'll also let us know. We really don't know how many people are watching this right now, who all is out there. So that would be kind of a fun way for you to communicate with us as well. And so let's go ahead and get started. So to compose an email, we're going to do this pretty quickly. You would go ahead and click the Compose button right here. You then have some options similar to GroupWise or other email clients that you've used. The great thing about using Google Mail now is you can start typing in, let's start typing in Adam, let's say, for example, and you now start to get, there are a couple of listings that you see here. These first 4 listings that I see are the top 4 results that I've gotten from my personal address book. In other words, these are people that I have emailed, and so they're part of my recent contacts. There's Adam Bratt from Saugus High School. Hello, Adam. Adam Holland from West Ranch. This is one of my former students, Adam Chuckman. He's actually the son of my dentist. And at one point, I emailed Ann Adams from the Child and Family Center. Now, you also have down here, these are from the hartdistrict.org address book. And so we now have this database, and this is a huge advantage of having Google Mail, is we have every single contact, and that includes both staff members and students. So the great thing about that is if you want to email, you want to send an email to one of your students, and if you have developed the culture in your classroom where we expect that all of our students are going to be using Google Mail through the Hart District, and that's the expectation that I'm going to set with my 7th graders. The moment they start in my classroom, probably next week we're going to be next week or next couple of weeks we're going to be talking about this is the difference between your personal email and a professional email. So we're going to try to teach them that lesson, and that's also important because then we get them in the habit of using their Hart District email address. Okay, so enough about that. And thank you to Bob Vincent and Laura Aerosmith and Laura Erickson, who have already sent in emails, so it's good to hear from you. Thank you. All right, so you know about the 2-line, and I think most people know about this, but it's worth mentioning anyway, the difference between the CC and the BC. CC stands for carbon copy, so anybody that you want to read your message, but you don't necessarily want them to, you're not intending them to be the direct recipient, you can CC them. And then the BCC, I think, is one of the most underutilized tools in email because the blind copy means that that person is going to receive the email and no one else is going to see that they're getting it. So when I use blind copy, it's not so much to, like, let's say you're going to send a nasty email to a colleague and then you're going to secretly blind copy it to a friend so they can see how nasty you were to your colleague. That's not necessarily the point. What I use blind copy for is if I want to send it out to, let's say, a group of students or a group of parents, I want to send a group email, but I don't want the other members of the group to see the other email addresses. You want to respect the privacy of maybe a group of parents. Let's say you're sending out a message to a bunch of parents who they need to contact you because there's something going on with their student. Then you can put everybody in a blind copy. You send the email. You just make the recipient yourself. And then in blind copy, you can then put the list of all of those parent emails that you want to include, and that way they don't see everybody else who's getting the message. So I think that's just a nice way of respecting the privacy of whoever is getting the message. All right. Susanna, have I sufficiently covered the basics of sending email in Google Mail?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
How do you reply?
Oh, okay. Well, here, I'm going to go ahead. My friend Laura Beers, who's over at Golden Valley, I'm glad you asked that. So a couple of options here. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click reply. So a couple of ways that I can do this. I can either click reply with my mouse, or if I tap on the R button, I have enabled keyboard shortcuts. We're going to talk about that in labs. I just hit the R key, and then now, all of a sudden, it has opened up the reply window. Laura, you are awesome. Thanks for joining us this evening. I have set up another shortcut, which I'm going to talk about when we talk about Gmail Labs, which is the Send and Archive. Now, this is powerful because I love shortcuts. Anything that I can do to make my life a little bit easier and make more time for my family rather than having to send and reply to emails, I'm all about that. So I'm going to just hit Tab and Enter, and now it's sent and archived. So, oh, thank you, sweetheart. There's my wife's email. So what that did, you'll notice that I think Laura, oh, there were two emails from Laura. I'm just going to reply to the one from Lisa. Hi, and then hit Send and Archive. And notice now that the email from Lisa Petrovich is gone. That's because I did a combination of both the Send and Archive. And I think this is a good time to go ahead and mention, since we're already on the topic, to talk about the archive feature. This is one of the differences between GroupWise and Google Mail, is the archive. So in GroupWise, we only had so much space. I believe that the number was 100 megabytes of space that we had total in GroupWise, which, when you're talking about data, when you're talking about computer stuff, that's not a whole lot of space. You compare that 100 megabytes with the, you see down here, the 30 gigabytes of space that we get now from Google, and that is 300 times the space. So that's a huge difference, because before in GroupWise we had to make the choice. What do I do with this message? I can either delete it, and in GroupWise that's a lot of what I did, was I deleted the message. You can also, you could put it in the GroupWise archive, and if you ever use the GroupWise archive, you know that you had to save it either in the you either had to save it on your C drive or save it on your G drive, but that was still taking up space either on the Hart District server or on your computer. With Google Mail, you just click Archive, and it goes into, let me go down here and let me show you. It goes into a place called All Mail. Now, the zone of All Mail here is every message that I have ever received. So the nice thing about All Mail is you don't ever have to feel like you have to delete it. I archive. Here's the message from my wife. I'm going to go ahead. I want to keep this forever and always, and it's text only, so it doesn't take up hardly any space at all. So I can go ahead and click Archive on that and keep it, and now I have that forever and always. There's Laura Erickson. I'm going to archive that. If I ever wanted to go back, let's say that I wanted to go back into my All Mail and I wanted to find every message that includes the word Laura. There is every message that includes the word Laura. If I wanted to get every message that was from a person named Laura, then I could do that. And let's say that I wanted to get every message from Laura Aerosmith. Then we've now narrowed it down to those three messages right there. So that just gives you an example of the power of search, the power of archive and the power of search. You don't ever have to delete a message ever. Now, Susanna and I were talking about yesterday, why would you want to delete? Susanna, do you want to talk quickly about your experience with delete and why, like, under what circumstances would you delete? Because I barely ever delete anything.
Sure. I mean, I think I usually delete messages that are task-oriented. As you can imagine, I'm sure you guys too get a lot of just, hey, can you meet me here? Or, can you do this quick little thing for me? And for me, my habit, I tend to delete those emails rather than keeping them. It's personal preference.
And
to echo what Ron was saying, I mean, certainly there's enough space now that if you're kind of in doubt, I would, definitely err on the side of just archiving instead of deleting.
Absolutely, because you never, you really never have to worry. The only time that you would really have to worry is, let's say that someone's sending or you are sending video files, because video files take up a lot of space. Then that's when you may want to delete it out of your sent mail or delete it, from your inbox completely, because that will start to take up storage space. Or let's say that you're a yearbook or journalism advisor and you have a system where students are sending or sending photos to you, or you're sending photos to like a Dropbox or something like that via email. Then your storage may start to fill up, but for the most part, 99% of the average users in the Hart District over the course of their career are probably never going to fill up this 30 gigs under normal usage. Would you agree, Susanna?
I would agree. And I think the general rule of thumb is if it's just text, just words, those really take up no space at all. But if you have attachments, like Ron mentioned, pictures, videos, those are really the only emails that's going to take any sort of space.
Okay. Well, and since we're on the topic of sorting, I think this is probably a good time now to talk about folders versus labels. So I do want to talk about that right now. I'm going to click on Laura Aerosmith's message. Hello, Laura. And so we need to, a lot of times in not only GroupWise but other email clients, we've gotten used to the idea of folders. Oh, okay, I want to save that message. I want to drop it in a folder. And that's a good way to organize your messages. And you can see over here on the left side of my screen that I have a lot of what look like folders. And if you could see my fingers doing air quotes right now, these are all quote-unquote folders. But really in Google Mail and Gmail, they're more accurately called labels. And here's the advantage of labels. So this is from Laura right here. So I could, if I wanted to, click on labels, and I could say messages from WR. These are from my West Ranch friends. So I can label this message as messages from WR. I'm going to click create new, and I've now just created a new label called messages from WR. However, I could also create a label. I could label this as conversations with friends because Laura Aerosmith is my friend, and now I can apply both of those labels, and now I have both of those attached to the Laura Aerosmith message. The advantage of this is you could theoretically apply hundreds of labels to a single message if you wanted to. So if there's one message that maybe goes into a couple of different categories. So let's say that you want to save conversations. Let's say you're on a resource team at a junior high school, and you want to save it as resource messages, but you also want to save it as Team Titans messages. That's the team that I'm on now at Sierra Vista, is Team Titans. So you want it to be able to open it up and see it in either one of those, again I'm using air quotes, folders. Then they would reside in both. So now if I go over here and I click on messages from WR, you will see there's the Laura Aerosmith message right there. And then if I wanted to click on conversations with friends, look, there's Laura's message, and it's in there as well. And if I click on it, you see again it has both of those labels. So so that's really I think the big advantage of using labels.
Yep.
And
just,
go ahead.
Just a quick point. So now that you see you have one message that has two labels on it, if you were in either one of those label views, I'm doing the air quotes, and you delete that message, it will effectively disappear from both label views.
Yeah, so when you click delete, if you can kind of imagine in your mind now that this Laura Aerosmith message that you see right here, it's kind of almost like I've put one of those like sticky tabs on there, and I've put a green one for conversations with friends and a blue one for messages from West Ranch. If you were to click delete on this, it's like taking this message and crumpling it up and throwing it in the trash. Now another thing to mention, since we're talking about trash, before the trash, Susanna and I were having this conversation yesterday. Some people treated the trash as almost like how did you describe it yesterday, Susanna?
Oh, I don't know. Some people just use it as an extra folder, kind of like things that they wanted to pending delete, but they might keep items in there for months at a time.
Yes.
So I think it's important to know that now that we're in Google Mail, it does auto empty in 30 days. So anything that you put in the trash will automatically disappear after 30 days.
And will go away forever after 30 days.
Yes.
Yes. So there are a couple of options here in the main screen. We have the back to the inbox archive, which I use for just about everything. There's of course the trash right here, and I'm going to come back to the spam button here, but I want to just point these out briefly. So again, with labels, you click on the label button, and it's going to apply that label if it's a message in your inbox, and then it'll keep the message in your inbox. If you click on the move to, again, the folder, I'm doing this in air quotes, folder, then what it's going to do is it's really going to, I'll just move this to messages from West Ranch. The conversation has been moved, but really the conversation has always been in the archive. It's always been in all mail. It's just if I go to conversations with friends, it's there. If I go to messages from WR, it's still there as well. So really the only difference is this. By clicking on this, it'll keep it in the inbox. By clicking on here, it will apply that label, plus then archive it and get it out of your inbox so it's safely in storage and you can go back and get it anytime you want to. The last thing that I wanted to mention, and there are, well, before I go into that, I do want to talk about the report spam button. Report spam, Google is doing, I think, a really good job, and perhaps better than GroupWise. Susanna can agree or disagree with me, so far in making sure that I don't get spam sent to my inbox. Now, I also have not been signing up for, with a lot of companies using my hartdistrict.org email address. So it could be that over time I might get a little bit more spam. Whenever I do get that, I go ahead and click on the report spam button. What that will do, and I'm not going to do this to Laura Aerosmith because she is not spam, but what that will do is it's going to delete it from your inbox. It is going to block that sender from ever sending you another message into your inbox. And then finally, it's also going to report that user to Gmail, to Google, to let them know that this is someone who is spamming. So if they get multiple users reporting on this same email address, then it's going to just strengthen the system for everyone. Now, I do want to show you the spam folder right here. Now, I don't know what's going to, obviously you can see some inappropriate things that are in here, but what Google is doing is Google is very much doing its job, but the reason why Google shows you spam is because sometimes we accidentally put, excuse me, sometimes we accidentally label somebody as spam that we really don't want to. So again, I apologize for this inappropriate stuff, but you can see that this is Google doing its job because it is rightfully keeping these things out of my inbox. So let's say that Canadian drugs is something that I really did want to go to my inbox. I don't. But what I could do is I could click on that and I could say not spam. Okay? And again, I get this message saying this is why Google labeled this as spam, and yes, of course I believe this is spam. I don't want this. But if it was a friend that I accidentally labeled as spam, I can just go ahead and I can say not spam, and then that person would then be lifted off of my spam list. Susanna, did I do a good job of explaining that? Was that okay?
Always, Ron. Well, I mean, I think if you remember the GroupWise system, which is not that long ago, just a comparison with now that we're on Google Mail, I mean, the amount of spam that actually makes it into your inbox, I mean, it's like minuscule compared to what was in GroupWise. Yeah, but it's like a collective engine, if you will, like you mentioned. If enough people report the same message as spam, then Google's algorithm will figure out certain patterns are spam and will put those messages in your spam instead of your inbox, which is
yeah. Susanna and I yesterday were talking about some of the differences that you experience going from GroupWise to Gmail. We already talked about the archive and how that's different. We talked about the increase in space, 30 gigs of space, which I should mention for those of you who are using Google Docs, Google Drive, that's the same thing, by the way, that also does count towards your storage. So if you're importing a lot of your old PowerPoint presentations that include a lot of images, if you are uploading videos to your science lab demonstration videos or whatever, and you're uploading those to your Google Drive, Google Docs, Google Drive account, then that is also going to count against your 30 gigs of space. So that's just something to be aware of. Google is giving us a total across all of the Google Apps for Education apps, giving us a total of 30 gigs of space. But again, that's for the average user. You're probably not going to be affected.
And you know what? I actually read somewhere, and this could be a hoax, but I'm pretty sure it's true, that documents that you actually create in Google Drive do not count against that 30 gigs. It's only files that you upload.
Yeah, and Susanna, you are absolutely right. If you create a document or you create a presentation, it's actually called Google Slides now. Let's say you create a Google Slide presentation, and it includes image after image after image. You know, you include 50, 60 images. If you convert your PowerPoints when you upload them, it doesn't count against your space at all. It's only if you keep those PowerPoints in their original format that they would count against your space. So you're absolutely right. So yes, so that was a good point. We talked about reporting spam. We talked about folders and labels. We talked about the trash that auto empties after 30 days. Oh, I did want to talk about conversation view. So this is another big difference between GroupWise and Google Mail. And this is something that I love. I love having that conversation view. So let's say, for example, and I hope Kristen and Jennifer and all of my Team Titans colleagues, I hope you don't mind that I'm using our email conversation here. So this is the original email. Kristen Souch, Teacher of the Year last year at Sierra Vista Junior High School. She is the English teacher on my team, on my 7th grade team. And so I went ahead, this was her original message here. I went ahead and replied. Jennifer Jones, who is our resource specialist, she replied as well, our resource teacher on our team. And so it kept all of these messages in one common conversation. Now, I love that. I love keeping those all together. However, there are some teachers who have said, no, I don't like that at all. I want it to be the way it was, the old way in GroupWise, where each message came through individually. And so you can absolutely do that if you go to your settings, and if you go to, or excuse me, the gear icon right here, which is your settings button, and then we go to settings. Then there is an option right down here, and you can turn conversation view off. Make sure whenever you adjust any of your settings that you go down to the bottom, the very, 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 very bottom here, and you click on Save Changes. And now you will notice that all of those messages, the ones that were in that conversation between Jennifer and Nicole and Kristen, they're all listed as separate conversations. I like keeping them all together, so I'm going to go back into my settings, and I'm going to scroll down. Oh, I think I passed it. I'm going to scroll back up to Conversation View, turn Conversation View back on. Again, I'll go down to the bottom and Save Changes, and now I keep that back in the conversation. So that's how Conversation View can be turned off. Keep in mind that if we have a conversation opened, and if you're the type of person that wants to trash, delete a message, if you click delete, you are deleting every message in the conversation. So even after I have extolled the virtues of archive, even after this webinar, if you're not convinced that archive is the way to go and you prefer to delete messages, then probably what you want to do is you do want to turn that conversation view off.
Well, however, you can delete just one message out of a conversation.
And can I do that if I click on, oh, I can click just delete this message.
Yep.
Okay.
So sometimes I'll do that. If I have, back and forth and a couple of the messages just say, okay, or thanks, but the rest of the messages, I warrant keeping, then I'll just go in and delete little sections of it.
Okay.
But I think functionally it's easy to just choose to archive.
I think so too, and if
That's
I'm going...
my own little habit. I'm not encouraging anybody else to do that.
Yeah, well, and if I'm giving advice to the average Google Mail user, I'm just going to say archive everything, because you never know when you might want to get a message back. Speaking of searching for messages, this is probably a good time, since we're at 7:27, to talk a little bit about the search. There are a couple ways that you can access search, and I previewed a little bit of it. So let's say that you wanted to look for a message that was sent to someone. I could search for messages that were sent to Laura Aerosmith right there, and these are all the messages that have been sent to her. Now you'll notice there are lots of messages in here because there are there are many messages that were sent to her. Let's go ahead and let me narrow that now to Laura Aerosmith from me. And so now, oh, Laura and I had quite a few conversations. It was a pleasure working with you at West Ranch for 3 years, Laura. And so you can see I've narrowed it down this way. However, I could also show some search options, and for some people, this is a nicer way of doing a search. So let's say I want to go ahead and
show them where you clicked on that again.
Okay, so I'm in the search box here, and this is one of the great advantages of using Google Mail over GroupWise, is that you leverage the search power that Google provides. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the little down arrow right here on the right-hand side of the search box, and now I have those options, so I don't need to remember all of those, like the from colon or the to colon. I can just go ahead and put it all in here right now. So if I wanted to, again, I wanted to find something from Laura. Let's go to Laura Beers and select her, and it was something that she sent to. Oh, not. I want it to be to me. I think I need to put in my email address here. There I am. And let's say that it's something specific. I want to use a specific subject, or if I would like to, let's say that I know that there are some words involved in there. Let's say maybe we were discussing ASB, or maybe we were discussing CATA. Laura and I are both volunteers for the CATA organization, so it was something involving CATA, and so we could do it that way. There are lots of different options here, advanced search options here. You could also choose something that has an attachment. Let's say that Laura sent me something with a PDF. I don't know if she has. No, she hasn't. But I could, if she had sent me a PDF, I could really refine that search by saying, I know it's a PDF. I know she sent it to me as an attachment. And, you know, because there are some instances where you just go, I know that they sent me that email, and I need to find it. And so you use the power of Google Search to refine your search and really kind of narrow it down so you can find exactly what you're looking for. So we've talked about search. I'm just kind of going over my checklist here, Susanna. We talked about search. We talked about archive. It's 7:30, so I think we're ready maybe to start going over some of the advanced options. Is that what do you think, Susanna?
Sounds great. I mean, nobody has any glaring questions right now, so I think everybody's on board.
Perfect. All right. Well, then we're going to go ahead, and I do want to go over some of the settings. Again, it's the gear icon right up here. And I think before I go much further, I do want to talk, since I see my face right here up in the corner, I do want to talk really quickly, and I am going to go into settings to show that. But I think it's so important. One of the things that I encourage you to do if you are a Hart District staff member, teacher, you're classified, certificated, administrator, whoever you are, I'm going to encourage you in the next couple of days before school begins to please give yourself. Oh, let me show you what I did again. So again, we're going back. We're clicking on the gear icon and clicking on settings. And I do strongly encourage, I'm going to go about 2/3 of the way down here. I do encourage you to put your picture on here. And the reason why is, and I love my dad. My dad is a staff member here in the Hart District, and I'm going to use him as an example. So let's say you started typing in Ron, and you'll see, not only do you see the Rons in the district there, there's my personal email address. There's my dad right there, Ron Rudzinski over at Golden Oak. There's our friend Ron Manalassis. Ron, I hope you're listening right now here on the webinar. Hello, Ron. There's my dad right there. So one of the things, because I'm a good son, I try to be a good son, I'm going to see him in the next couple of days, and I'm going to get him to change this, because my dad and I get a lot of each other's mail. And so I think one of the fixes for that is going to be to make sure that he has his picture on there, just like I have my picture on there. So if you're ever not sure, like, am I sending this to the right person? Maybe you're brand new to your school, or you still don't know everybody's. You don't quite know everybody yet. You're still trying to put names to faces, like I am right now at Sierra Vista. So helpful to have that profile picture there. So that's just something that I want to encourage you to do. So there's just my piece of advice. So we're going to go back to settings, the gear icon, and we're clicking on settings here. And so here, just some things that I wanted to point out to you. Let's say that you wanted to, if you're an email hoarder, in your inbox, then you could bump this up. Or if you want to have a smaller inbox view, then you can bump this down. The default is 50 conversations or messages per page. Here's one feature that I wanted to point out, and it's called Auto Advance. And so this is what I always do. Is I always go to the next conversation, because what happens if you don't do this? Then I'll click on this option. I think this is the default. Go back to the thread list.
Yes.
Let's say that I need to go and save. So I'm going to save my changes and just kind of show you an example. Laura Erickson, thank you very much. Give you a shout out there. I'm going to click on Archive. I click on Archive, and now I've gone back to the inbox. Now, for me, again, I'm all about like a little bit of time saved. If I can save, a couple seconds, 3 to 5 seconds here and there, then that's more time that I have to get to my students or to get to my family, and less time I'm spending on email. So a little thing that you can do when we go back to settings is, after archiving, what do I want to do? I want to go to the older conversation. I'm going to go ahead and just go back in time, and I'll click Save on this. Click Save, and so now when I click on Laura Aerosmith, hi Laura, and I click Archive, then it goes to the next message in my inbox, which again just means that I can go through my messages more quickly, and then once I've archived all of them, congratulations, I now have what's called inbox zero messages in the inbox, which is just the best feeling in the world, to have your inbox completely clear and you've taken care of everything. So that is that setting, telling Google Mail what do you want to do, telling it to auto advance. The default reply behavior, all this is when I hit R, my default is reply. You know that there are some people in our world and in our lives that we love dearly, but they accidentally are doing the reply all. So I would never, I can't think of any circumstance where you would want reply all as the default. I would keep reply on at all times. Conversation view, we've talked about that. I love having conversation view on, but if you want to see all of your messages separated, then you could turn conversation view off.
So we have a good question on the back channel, Ron.
Oh, okay, yes, go ahead.
He asks, what are the options to email GV users? We're probably all familiar with that.
Ah, yes. Okay, so, and that's a great question. So back in the old days, you would, in GroupWise, let's say, for example, you wanted to email GV users, you would do GV and then space. And so actually, it's funny, because what it used to be in GroupWise, it actually will show you, that's kind of a cool thing. It will show you that GV users is the email address that you want to use. So I would imagine this is probably the same. WR users, I start typing that in, or SV, this is my new school that I'm at now, SV users for Sierra Vista. And so that's how you, in the new system, that's how you would send a broadcast message to everyone at your particular site or in your wherever you happen to be in the Hart District. A word of caution, and that would be to just make sure, especially if you're new to your school, make sure that you have checked to see what are the norms, what are the social norms, and what are the expectations from your administration in terms of sending out those types of messages, because we have had in the past some people who have sent a message out to the entire school. We've actually had some, I've been teaching now in the Hart District for 18 years, and we've had a couple who have hit reply all, and their reply has gone to the entire school district. So you just want to be cautious, and you certainly don't want to advertise your used car, or you're trying to rent out a room, or whatever the case may be. But there are some, every site's a little bit different. Every site has different rules and expectations as to what is appropriate to put out on a user. So you want to be mindful of that.
And just FYI, even though all of us can see all the SV users, CA users, you can only message the group that you're in. So if you're a Sierra Vista staff, if you try to email CA users, you're going to get a bounce back saying that you're not.
Really?
Yep, just FYI.
Okay. All right, well, that's good to know. So I couldn't even do that anyway.
No.
Okay.
All right.
All right, well, let's go back to settings. Great question. And so we're going to go to, I'm going to go ahead and talk about undo send, because this is something that people were used to in GroupWise, and that by default, Google Mail does not have is not happening by default in Google Mail.
So it would all retract.
Yes. So in the old GroupWise, you used to be able to retract a message. So let's say that I was not happy with something that Ms. Hoffman said in our meetings earlier today at Sierra Vista, and I wanted to send her an angry email telling her what I think of her and her policies here at Sierra Vista. And then, after a couple of hours, I think it over and think, what, maybe I should not be angering my new principal, especially since I just started here. You could before, as long as they didn't read it, as long as they didn't open the message, you could retract in GroupWise. Well, there's no such thing as retract in Google Mail, but there is an undo send. So I'm going to show that to you because it's actually a two-step process. So step one, you have to go into Labs. Now, I talked about this being experimental, and I do need to emphasize that whatever you enable in Labs, it could disappear at any time. So please do not contact Susanna or John Carino or anybody else in the IT department and complain about how this feature, you had it and then you lost it, because, again, Google makes it very clear that it could be gone at any time. But the undo...
And you'll notice it even says, it tells you by the person. And I believe all of these labs are just developers that, out of the kindness of their heart, solve the problem and kind of give that plugin or lab feature to the masses.
This is part of the Genius Hour philosophy that Google has, where 20% of your work time you can spend doing whatever it is that interests or fascinates you. And so, yeah, these are all developers who, so the developer Yuzo decided that, hey, maybe it would be valuable to have an undo send, so he went and programmed it. And this is the type of feature that it's been around for years and years, and so I don't see it going away anytime soon. But you just be aware of that any of these labs could go away. So 2 steps to the process. Number 1, you're going to click on the Labs tab, and then you're going to here's the top right here, and then you'll scroll down until you go to you see undo send. By default, it is the radio button next to disable is clicked, so you want to go ahead and click enable, and then make sure, I haven't made any changes, but make sure that you go down and click save changes, and then you're going to want to go back to your general settings and then turn on the undo send, enable undo send. So again, a 2-step process. And you can set your cancellation period, okay, from 5, 10, 20, or 30 seconds. I'm going to go ahead and switch it to 30 seconds. Now, and then I'll go down and click Save Changes. Now, I'm going to go to, I'll send a message to Susanna and say, hey, way to go, and click Send. Now, what I'm realizing is, oh my gosh, Susanna, I meant that as a positive, like, hey, way to go, you did a great job tonight on the webinar, thank you so much. But she might interpret it, because you can't tell tone from an email, she might take it sarcastically, like, hey, way to go, Susanna, nice job, sarcastically. So I might say, oh my gosh, no, undo. And so I click the undo button, and now it brings it back. Okay? So again, you have those options, 5, 10, 20, or 30 seconds. The advantage to giving yourself all the way up to 30 seconds is you have 30 seconds to, to review it, to figure, do I really want to send this or not. The disadvantage is if, let's say, there's something that's time sensitive, and like I type something that says, here's that attachment, and let's say that, Susanna's working on a project and she needs this now, and so I'm at Sierra Vista, she's at the district, and here you go. And I've attached, let's say that I have attached a file and she needs it now. If I have that delay, that 30-second delay on there, then it is going to delay every message that I send by 30 seconds. So Susanna's going to be, she's going to be looking at her watch, just waiting, because it still is holding on to it for 30 seconds. So
let me show you something cool. Go ahead and click send.
Okay, so I'm going to click send, and
gone. You didn't do what I thought I was going to do. Maybe it's only in the body of the email. What's really cool is if you had an email and you type, how often do we do this? We'll say, here's the attachment in the body of the message. And if you didn't attach anything and you click send, Google actually tells you, you said that there should be an attachment, but it's not there. Do you want to attach it?
And actually, Susanna, that's in the labs. And so if we go into settings, and I'm pretty sure it's in labs, and we go to labs, then we can go to Actually, let's show another feature here. Search for a lab rather than scrolling down. Attach. No. Where did that used to, maybe it's in settings?
No, I think it's native. It just has to be within the body and not in the subject.
Well, it used to be a lab. I know that. Well, we'll try a different tack here. So again, I'll send a message to Susanna, and here's the project, and I have attached it, and click send. Aha! Here it is. So, Susanna, this is exactly what you were talking about. Seems like you forgot to attach a file. That used to be a lab. Now it's something that's just native, built into as a feature of Google Mail. So I love that. So it's warning us, you know what? You said you were going to attach something, but you didn't attach it. Oh, of course. Okay, so now I need to make sure that I attach it. So then I will click on the Attached Files, and I can go ahead and here you go, Susanna. Here is my certificate of completion showing you that I have completed my sexual harassment training for the William S. Hart Union High School District, and send, and there it goes. So now you know I've completed my training. Since we were in the message, it's probably a good idea. We can show a couple of things down here, and another test message. Susanna's inbox will be inundated by the time we're done. So let's say that I'm going to, here is a test, and we're sending another test message. I did want to show the features down below. Your first option you have right here would be formatting options. So if you really wanted to get creative and you want to include some more advanced like text editing features, then you can include those down below here. You also have the option to attach a file, and that would be a file that you have right on your computer. You could also attach, insert a file using Google Drive. So if you have that, then what you're doing is you're avoiding sending those attachments, and you're just sending it straight from Drive. You can insert a photo. You can label something as a hyperlink. So if you wanted to label something as a link, and usually Google will automatically do that for you. But let's say that I just type in ronippolito.com. And it didn't. If I do http www.ronippolito.com, then see, I don't think it does it automatically. So I think what you need to do is highlight it, and then you create a link, and then it will turn that into a hyperlink. So then it's something that's clickable when you send that as a message. Last thing would be emoticons. Oh, and there is something. I'm so glad that we're on here. Sorry, this is a little stream of conscious, but I do want to point out a feature. This is called canned responses. And the reason why I want to mention canned responses is because there are some times when you want to, there's just a message that you want to send counselors. Let's say, for example, talking to you, shout out to all of our hardworking counselors right now, especially in the next couple of weeks, counselors' jobs become extremely difficult. So let's say counselors, for example, you wanted to have a canned response where you want to be able to look through your messages one at a time. You just don't want to have just some message that goes out to everybody all the same, but you want to have something that you can choose. So this is my canned dad response. The reason why I have a canned dad response is because there are sometimes people who email me instead of emailing my father, who is the district buyer over at the administrative center. So this is my canned response. It's basically just like having a copy and paste, and you're able to drop in. You can create multiple canned responses so that for your more common responses, let's say you have a canned response that's, let's say it's a busy time of year for you, and you want to make sure that you respond in a timely manner to parents who are emailing you, but you don't have the time to give a personalized response. You could just set up a quick canned response, and that way they know that you've received the message and that you do care about them and care about their child. But you're going to give it a little bit more thorough attention in the next couple of days. Susanna, does it seem like I covered everything with regard to that? Anything else I should mention in that bar that's down below there?
No, I think yeah, awesome. So we have 2 other important subjects we want to cover.
Yes.
Contact groups. Somebody had a question about that on the back channel. It was also on the agenda.
Okay, it was on the agenda. I should probably mention it then, since it's on the agenda. So, so to go to contact groups, we're going to go to, we're going to click up here in the upper left-hand corner, click on Mail, and I will select Contacts. And here's where I can start. Yes, I can accept that. This is where I can start creating a group. So let's say that I'm going to, again, I'll use, oh, Susanna, I spelled your name wrong. I apologize. Let me go back to my contacts, and I'm going to search for Susanna. There we go. It's now spelling your name correctly. And let's say that I want to start creating a group. And you'll notice that I've already started creating some groups in here. These are my groups that, my groups imported from GroupWise.
It did.
Yes, that's pretty cool. So let's say that Susanna, oh, go ahead.
No, we move all your mail and your contacts, even your GroupWise archive, are all migrated over.
That's awesome. So let's say I wanted to add Susanna to my first period class, and so Susanna is now a part of my first period group, and I want to, let's say that I wanted to add additional people. I think there is a way, if I start composing, because this is the way that I've created groups in the past. Correct me if I'm wrong, Susanna, but let's say that I wanted to include Susanna, and I want to include, oh, let's go for Mike Coleman. Hello, Mike, if you're watching from Canyon High School, and Adam Bratt from Saugus, and let's say that I wanted to create a group, and did I do that?
I don't know. I didn't know that this was a way you can do that. So if it works, that'd be awesome.
There was a way, and I thought that was a way that I could create a group within a message, and I think I'm running into a dead end here. So, Susanna, what's the way that you usually create a group?
I actually don't have that many groups, but here, let me share my screen.
Okay, thank you.
So if I go into contacts, and let me just address that also the Google Summit that Ron and I went to, it's been named the waffle icon overwhelmingly. Some people call it the Rubik's Cube, but I think some people that are younger might not know that reference. So you can also go to contacts from here. Slowly, it's going to come up. So you can create a new group. I typically scroll down to the bottom, and here's an area where you can click on New Group, and you can name it. You can call it Test. And once that's created, and now I can add people in here. So let's add Ron Napolito. Let's add Laura Erickson. Oh. And you click Add. So that's a nice little feature, because you can just keep typing and pressing Enter. You'll add the commas, and then you can kind of mass add a whole bunch of people. Yeah, so that's adding contacts. And then once we have this group test, I can go back to my mail. And if I do a compose, and I say test, it should have come up. I think that's a bad example. Okay, let's try with another group. We go into contacts. I have an existing group called technicians. So let's go back to mail, compose. If I type technicians, it'll pull up the group, and I can do a test message and email them all. And there you go.
And Susanna, I'm wondering too, because again, I don't use groups as often, but I'm wondering if you could go into groups and if you could create a little logo or an icon for your group, and maybe that way, if I click on the waffle here and I go to contacts, and then I go to one of my groups, and let's say, oh gosh, Team Yukon, this is from a long time ago. This is back at Rio Norte, the Rio Norte days. I'm wondering if could I? I was wondering if there was a way to create an
Like,
icon, like a profile picture.
not that I know of. No, I don't think there's an option to create, but that would be a great feature to add.
That would be. Maybe I should contact Google and have them give them that suggestion.
No,
There's a question I see here from Laura Erickson about how to delete outdated contact groups, and goodness, the biggest loser 2010 contact group. I could probably delete this, so I could go ahead and click on more and delete group, and notice here it says delete the group. The 19 contacts that it contains will not be deleted. So all I'm doing is just getting rid of the group, and I'm not deleting any contact information at all. I'll click OK, and there we go, and that is now gone. So Laura Erickson, hope that answered your question. You just select the group that you want to get rid of, and you just click on more and click delete group, and then we go ahead and click OK, and then that group is gone. This is like Susanna, this is like taking a trip down memory lane here. All of my my old stuff here and former Hart District lives here.
I'm not seeing the movement on your screen. I hope everybody else can see it.
Oh, okay. Let's
I'm just
see.
seeing your inbox.
Oh, okay. Let me do a reinitialization of the screen share. I do that. And do you see it now?
I see your inbox.
Can you see this now? Yes. And if I can go to Google Drive, you seeing this now?
There we go. Yep.
Okay, good. All right, so we're back. Okay, so I think did you not see any of the demonstration of the deleting of the?
I did not.
Okay, Laura Erickson, let me know. You're on the back channel. So Laura, let me know if you actually saw that or if you only heard it. Okay, hey Susanna, we have 6 minutes left until we get to 8 o'clock. So were there other questions that other things that we should demo before I go back and show some more bells and whistles in the labs feature?
You can do filters.
Oh, I can totally do filters, yes. So let's say that I want to, I think the easiest thing to do, I'm going to use Dodi as an example. Dodi Garcia. And Dodi actually asked a question via email. So Dodi, I'm going to get to your questions in just a moment. Let's say though that I wish to, I want to create a filter based on this message right here. So if I'm in the message from Dodi, I'm going to click on more, and I'm going to click on filter messages like these. So let's say, for example, Susanna was using this example yesterday when we were talking about this. She gets messages from a listserv. Is that what you were saying, Susanna?
Yeah, and I think a lot of people probably, as educators, you probably subscribe to mailing lists. And
Yes.
If it's a list that's very active, you'll probably notice it kind of, fills up your inbox, and you kind of have to weed through and find your immediate tasks that you need to address. So filters is a nice way to kind of move items around without your intervention.
So one of the things that I could do is if I wanted to send all of the messages, I can filter messages like these, and let's say I want every message that I get from Dodi. Let's say that Dodi's just sending me a ton of messages. Dodi, oh my goodness, Dodi, I can only handle so many messages from you at one time. Dodi totally doesn't do that, but we'll just say that as an example. What I can do is I can say that every message from Dodi is we're going to click on Create Filter with this search. I am going to skip the inbox, so I'm not even going to see it in the inbox. I'm going to apply the label. I could create a brand new label saying Messages from Dodi and create that. And then that's it. If I were really upset with Dodi, then I could just turn this off and I could just delete it. Delete it, send a canned response, and instead I could create a canned response that said something about Dodi.
Got it. Great. Thanks.
And what was that, Susanna?
Huh? That you got it. Thank you
Oh.
for the information.
I could totally do that. I could also, if I was really going to be clever with my let's say that there is someone at a school site who's constantly emailing me stuff that's meant for my dad. So I could just send a canned response and reply with the canned dad and then create that filter. And then from now on, every message that Dodie sends me, I'm going to go ahead and it's automatically going to send a reply. Let's say that you have a parent, I'm not telling you should do this, but let's say that you have a parent who is constantly emailing you all the time about their kid. You could have you could create a filter that says every time I get an email from this parent, I'm going to send an auto reply that says, "Dear sir or madam, your child is very important to me, and I will reply in a timely manner. Thank you so much for your care and concern." And so that way they've gotten a reply from you. They know that you've gotten their message and that you're going to reply in a timely manner. So that's Susanna, is there a specific thing that you use filters for besides that example that we talked about yesterday with the listserv?
No, that's the only way that I use it for. But I'm certainly, people can use it any way that they see fit.
Okay.
I think on the back channel, they did not see the deletion of the contact group.
Okay, so I'm gonna go and just I'm gonna do that really quickly. I'm gonna go back to the waffle icon again. You can see this now, right, Susanna?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna go to contacts, and so now you can see that I will go to history department, and this is a former. Hey, it's my old colleagues at Rio Norte. So I don't need to create a group anymore. That's the Rio Norte history department. So I'm going to go ahead and click on more, and click the delete group. And again, it assures me that my contacts won't be deleted. I'll still be able to maintain my contacts with these people. It's just this particular group is being deleted. I click OK. And now the group is deleted. So hopefully, Laura Erickson, that answered your question. And thank you to both Todd and Laura for pointing that out. Okay, really close to the end. What is it, Susanna, that we need to make sure that we share before our time runs out?
I would say just explore. I mean, there's so much you can leverage now on Google Mail. If you're a newbie and you might be a little bit timid, I mean, certainly just focus on the things that you absolutely need to do, and then once you're comfortable with that, then you can expand and go and check out all the options you have in lab. Explore filters. A great website that we've put up is google.hartdistrict.org. There's a lot of resources. There's videos. There's articles on how to do advanced search, which some of it Ron alluded to. It becomes like a whole syntax programming language if you really want to kind of geek out on that. So that's just a great resource. And hopefully, there's a short survey, Ron.
Yes, and so I'm going to go ahead. I have the launch page back here that I wanted to direct your attention to. First of all, if you have friends who were not friends or colleagues who are not able to watch this link, this YouTube link, will now become. YouTube has to render it, so give it, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes or so for YouTube to process the video. But this whole recording, this live broadcast now becomes a recording that you can refer to or that you can refer friends to so they can watch it on YouTube. Also, if you would please, those of you who have been watching, participating, if you could please just click back on that, click on the survey link, and if you could just fill out the brief survey. I think it's like 3 questions, 3 or 4 questions asking you what you thought of tonight, and it'll also ask you, well, I'll click on the link so you can see it. What went really well? How could we have improved this evening's webinar? If we did future webinars, what topics should we cover? And then just any other feedback, because you know what, I don't know about you, Susanna, but I had some fun tonight. I thought it was a great start, and I enjoyed our time together with everyone out in Google Land this evening here in the Hart District.
Yeah, awesome. I mean, it's totally Ron's idea, and this has been very exciting, and thank you for including me. And hopefully we'll get some good feedback, and we'll do more of these.
All right. Well, once again, thank you again for joining us, and please fill out the survey. And thank you to everyone who threw out questions on the back channel. and let's hopefully do some more of this and have some more fun. Susanna, thank you very much. You were awesome. I roped Susanna into this, and she was so gracious to volunteer and give up her time not only this evening, but yesterday when we did our 90-minute long demo to make sure that we worked out all the technical kinks and worked out the agenda. So, Susanna, thank you very much for helping us out tonight.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. So we conclude the broadcast, and have a good evening, and have a great 2014-2015 school year. Bye-bye.